Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Okay, so here we go again. The ladies at The View have done it again. They've managed to outdo themselves. How many times have I said that one? They've managed to stoop lower. They've managed to set the bar higher for how low they're willing to go. That sounded a little bit paradoxical, but I'm sure you get the point. They just keep outdoing themselves, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And really, it makes me think, we don't live in a very serious world now, do we? Where this is the type of stuff that's dominating TV ratings? It's just hard for me to logically reconcile. These people are being paid millions of dollars a year. They're supposedly the best the networks can provide, the best the networks can do. It's just such an utter disaster. The fallout continues on The View following the 2024 election, and once again the approach remains quite consistent. They're going with the "we're not the problem, you're the problem" approach. Yeah, they didn't lose the last election because of all their woke nonsense, their track record on the economy, the border crisis, Afghanistan, the list goes on and on. No, none of that. Oh, let's not forget they literally launched a coup against their president and then installed the DEI hire as his replacement. How could I forget that? But anyways, no, that's not why they lost. They lost because they couldn't regulate social media. Yep, they're still going with this disinformation angle. These people are inherently fascist. I truly believe that. I think there's actual proof behind that statement. It's not just an empty slogan or an empty label like the left likes to use it. And let me explain why I actually believe that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Ah yes, the ladies at The View. Always a reliable source of the most outlandish and authorian takes on the internet. And now we got another one of those takes. Take a look.
Think critically. If we could regulate social media, because one of the biggest offenders is DC and Congress have not been able to do one thing in regard to the rogue corporations of social media.
It's not going to get any better with Elon Musk now in the administration. I want.
Yep, the quote is exactly like I said in the intro. Kamala Harris could have won if we could regulate social media. Now, doesn't that just tell you everything? That's saying the quiet part out loud. In my view, this statement perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with the modern Democrat Party. They have an obsession with control. They have a clear disdain for free speech, and you can tell that quite simply by their outright embrace of censorship as a tool of maintaining power. That's essentially what they're telling you. The idea that Kamala Harris, one of the least popular politicians in modern history, could have won if only the government had clamped down on social media is beyond absurd. It's first of all a desperate excuse for her failures, but more importantly, it exposes the left's real agenda: control the narrative by silencing dissent. That's what it really comes down to. This isn't about misinformation. It's not about protecting the public from harm. It's about shutting down anything that challenges their worldview or exposes their failures. Essentially the same way the editorial process works in the newsroom, in the corrupt left-wing mainstream media newsroom. Well, they want to be able to exact that kind of editorial control on the population and the conversation that the country is essentially having. In other words, Soviet-style control over speech and the flow of information. That's obviously where they're trying to go. Let's just start with Joe Biden's now infamous attempt to establish a disinformation governance board, which frankly was nothing short of a Ministry of Truth ripped straight out of 1984. Joe Biden tried creating an Orwellian monstrosity that was supposed to combat online disinformation. Ooh, spooky frickin' buzzwords. Ooh, online misinformation. But let's not kid ourselves. It was designed to police speech that challenged the Democrat Party's narrative. They even appointed Nina Jankovic as the so-called disinformation czar, who of course very quickly got exposed as a partisan hack who had spent years of spreading misinformation herself, from downplaying the Hunter Biden laptop story to pushing debunked Russia collusion hoaxes. But of course we know what happened there. The backlash was so intense that Joe Biden's Ministry of Truth was scrapped. But the fact that it was even proposed in the first place basically tells you all that you need to know about their intentions. This is who and what the compassionate libs really are. What they call misinformation is often just inconvenient truths or opinions that they don't like. Remember when they worked hand in hand with big tech companies to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story? Major platforms like Twitter, Facebook went into overdrive to bury a legitimate news story roughly a month ahead of the 2020 election, all under the guise of combating Russian disinformation. But then fast forward to present day, the story was actually confirmed. The story was confirmed as real by multiple sources, including the FBI. But in the end, that didn't matter much because the damage was done. They manipulated the flow of information to essentially rig the narrative in their favor. And it's not just Hunter Biden. It's with so many of these issues. Let's talk about 2020, for instance, and what the Democrats dubbed the big lie. I remember very clearly people who were raising concerns about the 2020 election were branded as conspiracy theorists. They were deplatformed or labeled insurrectionists. Meanwhile, Democrats spent decades claiming elections were stolen, from George W. Bush in 2000 to Trump in 2016.
Russia hacked our election. The Russians hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russian hacking of our election.
Hacking of our election.
Russia hacked our elections.
Russia hacked our election.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
Donald Trump is an illegitimate president.
Illegitimate president.
Dems don't accept Trump as a legitimate president.
This wasn't on the level.
This election was not on the level.
I don't think he's a legitimate president.
Democrats have been denying elections for decades with zero consequences. Hillary Clinton still calls Trump's 2016 victory illegitimate. Stacey Abrams still to this day refuses to admit that she lost in Georgia. They can question all they want, but if you ask any questions, if you demand transparency, that's dangerous disinformation. The left doesn't just censor, they destroy. People lose their jobs, their platforms, and their reputations for daring to challenge the regime. What these leftists want is collusion between the government and private companies to suppress dissent. You know, they pretend, oh, it's just private companies. They have the right to control speech on their platform. Maybe, I don't know, I mean, it still feels like we're in uncharted digital territory, and a lot of the legal issues or constitutional issues regarding free speech online haven't been dealt with effectively yet. But anyways, beyond the whole Section 32 argument, it's not really a discussion about private companies when you're seeing censorship by proxy, just like we saw with the Twitter files, when you're seeing the federal government essentially pressuring social media campaigns to censor speech on behalf of one party or one powerful federal institution. It's not just a social media company regulating their website, no, it's a social media company censoring speech on behalf of the federal government. And that, of course, is deeply unconstitutional. And now we've got one of the clowns on The View openly admitting that that's exactly what they wish they could do. That's the path that they need to take for their candidates to win. Do you realize how insane that sounds? They're saying the quiet part out loud. If we could just control what people see and hear, we'd never lose again. That's what they're telling you. But very importantly, what people need to understand is that's not democracy. That's fascism. It's authoritarian wrapped in a woke veneer. Ooh, compassion, protecting people. No, it's frickin' tyranny. The Democrats have shown time and time again that they have no respect for free speech or the marketplace of ideas. They don't want debate. They don't want to persuade you. They want to silence their opponents and essentially force ideological victory. They want big tech in their pocket. They want big tech censorship, shadow banning, and deplatforming. And their goal is always the same: eliminate the opposition and control the narrative. And that's initially what they tried to do with their hate speech buzzword, a term so vague it can mean literally anything. Disagreeing with somebody's woke ideology, hate speech. Opposing critical race theory, hate speech. Supporting border security, you guessed it, hate speech. They weaponize language to delegitimize and deplatform their opponents, all while pretending to be the champions of democracy. But they don't know a thing about democracy. The only thing they know is democracy, which is essentially meme code word for leftist fascism. And you know, I'm just sitting here hoping that people are paying attention. I'm hoping that people are paying attention and seeing and listening to this stuff and understanding it, seeing it for what it is. You know, the hope is that the more the left screams about misinformation, the more obvious it becomes that they're the ones spreading it, and the more obvious it becomes that it's just a tactic for control. And so I guess the hope is that their failure to understand that free speech is the cornerstone of a free society will be their undoing. Let them whine about Kamala Harris and dream about regulating social media, with the hope being that the harder they push for censorship here, the more they expose themselves as the party of control and not the party of freedom, despite the slogans. We don't need a ministry of truth, and we definitely don't need Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg telling us what we can and can't say. I'll tell you that much. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.